Hello, fellow detectives. Welcome to Unlocked, the official podcast for all things Nancy Drew from Her Interactive. I'm your host, Tammy Tuckey, and this week we welcome Marketing Coordinator Calina Herman to the show. Welcome, Calina.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be talking about Nancy Drew.
I know, me too, because I always see your videos on Her Interactive's YouTube page. There are fans within the company, too, who love playing the games as much as I do.
Oh, yes. No, well, I started out as a fan, and then I got the lucky dream job of being able to work here. So what happened first is when I was a kid, my sisters and I asked the company, because we discovered that they were pretty local to where we lived, asked the company if we could be like game testers for them, just for fun. And they said, yeah, sure, we're taking advisory panelists. So we were playing games for several years and testing out the puzzles and giving critical feedback to them. And that's how I developed a contact within the company. So I knew people within the company. And when I went to college, at the tail end of college, I asked the company, would you consider taking me as an actual hired intern? And they're like, yeah, sure. We got to go through the interview process, formalities. But yeah, we'd love to have you. So that's when, just out of college, I got an internship as game production intern. So I did all kinds of fun stuff with that. And then they called me back because they needed me to be a game tester just for 1 week because one of the testers had to leave their position early to move on to another job. And so I did that for 1 week for Shadow at the Water's Edge. And then that's when they discovered that I had Photoshop skills. And so the marketing team called me back later. And that's how I got the marketing internship. And then I interned for 6 months doing that. And they're like, they finally hired me full-time as marketing coordinator. And then I've just been with the company ever since.
What was one of your favorite things to test out in the initial stages of being a game tester?
Well, I am weird. I really liked to test the Master Sudoku puzzle in Shadow at the Water's Edge.
That one's really hard.
It was super hard, but here's a company secret. There in our office, our game producers, or programmers, I should say, created a little system just for us testers. It's not in the game anymore, but just for us testers, they created the system where you just start entering in the numbers into Sudoku, and it tells you if it's right or not, so that we could buzz right through that puzzle to make sure it's working, because that was the point. We needed to make sure the puzzle was actually working. It wasn't matter if we were understanding it or if we were getting it right or wrong. We just needed to make sure it worked. So they created this little system for us to check it, and it was actually really fun. It was more fun than actually playing Sudoku. It's a very big accomplishment, and that's one of the fun things about the games is you feel so accomplished when you solve something.
Absolutely. And being a marketing coordinator, can you talk us through that process? Like, what exactly are your responsibilities, and what do you like most about working with the marketing team?
Oh, well, my favorite part is being able to talk about Nancy Drew all the time. That's a big key thing with the marketing team is getting the word out there and talking about Nancy Drew within our community, and also bringing in new game players. And that's the fun part because I love the games and I could talk about them all the time. But what I do as a marketing coordinator is a little bit of everything. It's kind of a jack of all trades. I do a lot of social media stuff, a lot of newsletters, video work, graphic design work, website updating, moving game assets between different game partners. So if we're getting our games up on another website, then I'm the one who gathers all the screenshots and the videos and the information about the game, and I deliver that to them.
And also, Calina has been so helpful with the podcast, and she's been putting out these beautiful graphics. I need to, say thank you for that, Calina, because they look fantastic. I love seeing, the characters next to the people that we interview. That's always so much fun to see the comparisons.
No, that's great. Thank you. I sometimes have trouble remembering who the voice actors are myself. Just this last week, I think you had someone on our list. I'm not going to spoil it, but in the future, we had a few voice actors coming up. and I could not for the life of me remember who they were. So I had to look them up and find out, oh, they do this character's voice and that character's voice. It's like, wow, I'm learning things all over again.
And you've seen that. You have all these YouTube videos where you play the games, and what's the most fun part about doing that specific type of video when it's just completely live?
It's a little intimidating. Because doing live video was never something I was I wasn't very comfortable with it because it's a very intimidating process. I mean, you have to think about everything at the same time. You need to make sure that the technical specs are actually, the technical tools are all working. You can actually see me, you can hear me. The game is actually going to play, it's going to show up for people, and you have to be watching what the audience is talking about in the chat feed so you can actually reply to them. And that's one of the biggest things about the Twitch parties and the podcasts and stuff is talking with people live and communicating with them. You're not just sharing a bunch of words and information, feeding it to them. You're actually listening to what the fans have to say and answering questions and just talking with them, not to them. Some of the credit has to go to some of my past and current interns, Indy as well as Tess. It's really helpful to have a co-host because then we can have one person looking at the chat feed while the other person is focused on how am I supposed to get to the next part of the game? Oh, yeah, I have to remember. I have to go get that key, or I have to go talk to that character. So while I'm focused on the game, Tess can be, like, answering comments and stuff and just keeping the party going, so to speak. It's not going to have a lull where I have to be quiet. I'm focused on the Sudoku puzzle. I have to think. I can't talk to you right now kind of stuff. I just counted them up yesterday because I'm planning the next Twitch party, so I had to see how many games we've done so far. We've done 12. We're totally doing them out of order. It started out with Shadow at the Water, it was like Secret of Shadow Ranch, and that was in time for Valentine's Day, so that was kind of a tie-in with the season and the holiday. And then after that, we just we asked for people's votes. What did they want to play next? So we would just play games according to whatever the people were feeling like they wanted me to play, or if there was a holiday coming up that fit well with one of the games, we'd play that.
Well, I'm going to have you as my tester on this new aspect of the podcast I thought we would do. It's called 5 Locked Clues. So they're basically just questions. I want to see if you can unlock them by giving us your answer.
Okay, I'll do my best.
So here's the first one. First Nancy Drew game that you got to play.
Message in a Haunted Mansion.
Number 2, your favorite Nancy Drew game.
The Final Scene.
Number 3, who are you going to call? Ned Dickerson, the Hardy Boys, or Bess and George?
Bess and George. Those are my girls.
Number 4, what place from one of Nancy's past cases would you like to visit and see for yourself?
Oh, Wickford Castle, for sure.
And our final question, number 5, what character, besides Nancy and her friends, do you think you would get along with if you met them in person?
Heather McKay from Danger by Design. Right now she's an assistant working for a huge designer, but she wants to become a designer herself. So, I mean, I'm not in the perfect position for this, but if I could become a game designer, that's like me sitting behind the designers right now and wanting to become a game designer in the future.
Have you ever thought of, like, what type of game you could do that was maybe historically relevant to maybe, 1776 or some other well-known historical figure?
It's funny you should mention 1776. I would absolutely love to have a national history-themed kind of Nancy Drew game. Maybe where Nancy helps out at the Smithsonian, or where it centers around one of the presidents or someone who was close to a president and he had a big secret and he had something hiding or something like that. No, I absolutely love the real life historical facts and history that is interwoven with a lot of our game's backstory. The things that we learn about Tesla, we learn about, like you said, the Great Fire of San Francisco, or what being shanghaied in the Puget Sound area meant. So fun to see or to learn about these real things. And then when you actually go and see these things or learn about these things in real life, you're like, oh yeah, I learned that in a Nancy Drew game. So cool.
So what can you tell us about some of the new projects that you are working on at Her Interactive? Can you tell us a little bit of anything here or there, or?
There's not much too far out in the future that I'm working on. For me, it's mostly about the seasonal things. So I'm really working on Valentine's Day stuff right now. And like getting ready for the next Twitch party, so I need to put up some graphics and stuff for that. By the time this podcast will launch, I would have made and released a Valentine's Day video, which showing how to make chocolate-covered strawberries and then wrapping them in gold foil so that they look like Dirk Valentine's gold hearts from The Secret of Shadow Ranch.
Oh, wow.
So I'm working on a Pinterest pin for that and a video how-to for that. It's kind of sloppy and I'm not that great at it, but it's a pretty simple project.
I think it's going to come out perfectly. I love your videos, and I'm so glad we could finally talk for a longer period of time than we usually get to. And it's just nice to talk to another Nancy Drew fan, because I had no idea when I was younger that there was anybody else out there who also played the games, and thank goodness for the internet, because we all got connected through it. So thank you.
Definitely. Oh, yes, of course. It's always fun finding new Nancy Drew fans, and that's how some strangers become friends.
It's the best type of friend, too.
Yeah.
And my final question, if you could describe your experience working with Her Interactive and being a part of the Nancy Drew universe using one word, what would it be?
A dream.